باشه چگونه میشه. اینا رو مردم میدیدند، جرأت حرف زدن نداشتن ولی جرأت فکر کردن و فهمیدن رو داشتند.
But while religious leaders wanted a return to tradition, some Iranians, very often the children of the Shah's revolution, wanted democracy and even an end to monarchy.
When you talk about Iran, then it was a country that was shifting gears. A great part of the country with traditional views, they had a little bit of a problem adjusting to the rapid pace of change. And on the other hand, you had intellectuals who were in fact demanding faster reforms. And I guess at some point in time, we had a sort of crisis, not purely political, but a sort of sociological crisis that began in my country.
Celebrations in 1976, marking the 50th anniversary of the Pahlavi regime, were a somber affair. The dutiful applause of the well-drilled audience gathered at the tomb of Reza Shah had a hollow ring. An atmosphere of stagnation was gripping the country, but the Shah still believed that the people supported him.
I can claim to have the pulse of my people really in my hand. And we have shown to each other so many times signs of complete devotion to each other that there is a very special situation today in my country.
In January 1977, Jimmy Carter took the oath of office on the White House lawn. Elected on a platform of human rights and the reduction of arms sales, Carter appeared to be the Shah's worst nightmare.
The office of President of the United States.
In fact, Carter quickly accepted that there was simply no alternative to the Shah. All he could do was to encourage the limited liberalization program that the Shah had introduced the previous year.
Of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Neither side appreciated that this liberalization would act as a catalyst in a country ripe for revolution. In the dying days of 1977, Jimmy Carter paid a visit to the Shah in Tehran. Conscious of the need to signal his support, Carter made a fulsome New Year's toast.
Iran, because of the great leadership of the Shah, is an island of stability in one of the more troubled areas of the world.
A few days after Carter left, a spark was struck that was to start the revolution. Ayatollah Khomeini had been a thorn in the Shah's side for 14 years. Recently, however, he had started calling for the overthrow of the monarchy. Reassured by Carter's unconditional support, the Shah decided to retaliate.
There was an article prepared by the Shah's press office, and the Shah had a direct hand in it because he was furious about Khomeini, what he had been saying about him. So he wanted to answer, and he had this habit to answer any insult, any criticism, whatever the source. So he ordered the preparation and writing of this article, and they gave it to me to be published in one of the newspapers. It was a routine matter.
The article accused Khomeini of licentious behavior and of being a British agent. It provoked demonstrations from his followers in the holy city of Qom. The authorities reacted, and a number of people were killed. The deaths in Qom triggered a recurring cycle of often bloody demonstrations. Secular opposition groups rallied to Khomeini's banner, and within weeks, unrest had spread throughout the country.
All the things that had not happened in Iran over 15 years suddenly happened in 15 days. We had had absolutely no strikes. Suddenly everybody was on strike. We had had absolutely no demonstrations. Suddenly everybody was demonstrating. Nobody had seen any crowds in Iran. Suddenly there were crowds in the streets, and nobody could estimate their size.
We all failed to predict the revolution. We identified all the areas of discontent and opposition. But since they were all opposed for a different reason. It was very difficult to see how they could actually coalesce, run together.
The true leader of the Iranian revolution in negative way is the Shah. He did everything wrong to unite all different factions together.
He just couldn't believe that he was as unpopular as he turned out to be. That there was no such thing as the Shah People Revolution. That he hadn't formed a bond with the people. That they weren't grateful to him for all the changes that had taken place in Iran. That he really was that popular. And that of all things, black reaction was leading the people against him. He would have been happier if it had been Red Revolution. He would have been happier if it had been the communists. Because at least he felt that they were progressive. Whereas the people he really had it in for were the mullahs.
I don't say we didn't have shortcomings and problems, but it didn't deserve such a horrible revolution. People, really many of them had become hysterical. There was the only thing they wanted for the regime to change. And of course, everything started not immediately as a snowball. And unfortunately, the evil forces were stronger than we were.
The turning point in the revolution occurred on a Friday afternoon in early September. Martial law had been declared in Tehran, but despite this, many people were determined to join a demonstration in Jaleh Square.
صبحش که من می‌خواستم بیام از صبح جمعه که می‌خواستم از خونه بیام بیرون خانومم برگشت گفتش که محمد نرو رادیو اعلام کرد حکومت نظامیه من خندیدم گفتم با توجه به اینکه حکومت نظامیه باید برم و من اون روز یکی از اون افراد بودم که به قول من یک قطره بودیم از دریا.
The crowds found the route to Jaleh Square blocked by troops. As their numbers increased, they pressed forward and the troops opened fire. It was said later that the Shah himself had been flying above the crowd in a helicopter directing operations. But the bloody shambles of Black Friday was unplanned.
This was not a cold-blooded attempt to kill large numbers of people. This was groups of untrained recruits who were shooting wildly into the crowd. It was very random shooting. Nobody ever will know how many people died that day, but it was an extraordinarily bloody scene. The authorities put the numbers in the low 20s or 30s of fatalities. But in reality, I think it probably ran into a couple of hundred.
When I saw the Shah shortly afterwards, he was absolutely horrified by what was happening. It was the first time I'd really felt that he saw that a situation was arising which he couldn't handle. He was saying over and over again that a dictator could kill his people, but a king could not.
Despite all the expectations and the urging of hardliners among his advisers, the Shah refused to order the systematic use of maximum force.
We were expecting more blood than what did actually took place. Relatively speaking, comparing to what happened in the French Revolution, Iranian Revolution was not bloody.
For those observing from outside Iran, this hesitation was puzzling, even frustrating.
People were saying, when's he going to do it? And he never did. It was very clear to all of us who were watching Iran at that time that the Shah wanted us to take responsibility for this. He wanted a clear order sent from Washington that said, crack down on these people, kill people if you have to, but reestablish order and stability. And Washington simply refused to do that. We simply were not going to put ourselves in that position. He clearly wanted us to.
But some feel that the Shah's hesitation belies his popular image as a ruthless dictator.
After 20 years of thinking about modernization,